We're excited to get back on the court. It feels like it's been a long time since we played. Sometimes people will ask, are you glad you had this time off, or do you wish you had played? Really neither, because it's outside of our control. Every year the league sets a schedule, and the way it works with 11 teams, somebody's got to have a bye. And so for us, we've spent this time on, guys trying to get a little bit of rest after a 7-day stretch with 3 games. Guys trying to get better in the weight room, on the court, watching video, and then today turning our attention to Saturday's game. Tough opponent, tough venue, but we're just really excited about getting back on the court and having the opportunity to grow and improve. It's late January, so obviously it's an important stretch of the season as it relates to conference play, but even more important for us to continue to grow. Our goal is to be playing our best basketball at the end of the year, and we're not even close to where we can be, so we just want to keep getting better, starting with practice today.
We were just talking with Cam about his visceral jump for joy during Chase's dunk the other night. I know Steve Kerr's talked about this with the Warriors, and that joy was the dominant emotion when those guys were rolling. I mean, not to compare you guys to like an NBA dynasty or anything, but it seems like with this team there is that amount of joy, like the way they share the ball, the way they play for each other. Just where do you think that comes from, and how rare is that?
Well, I think when you like each other and when you have relationships, genuine relationships with each other, that's not just a transactional, hey, I'll do this for you, you do this for me, and then when we're done, we'll go our separate ways. I mean, these guys have strong bonds that are going to last well beyond their time at Marquette. So I think when you have that, it's easy to feel joy when your brother does something great. And at the same time, we're all working together as part of one unit, one, as we say, team ego, to go try to win a really hard game on the road at Seton Hall or at DePaul on Saturday. So when a guy makes a great play, there should be a level of excitement for that. And we show our guys a couple times a year a clip of Bill Belichick from years ago with the Patriots, and he was showing his team video footage of when they were really, really excited and jazzed up for each other when they were making plays, and then when they weren't. And he made the comment to them, and this is the Patriots who've won, however many Super Bowls. We're not good enough. We're not talented enough. I don't think anyone is, to not have a level of passion and excitement when our teammates make plays. And so we try to emulate that.
Shaka, when you brought Tyler over here last year, did you ever envision him being the player he is today, with it just how the offense runs through him, ranked #1 in offense according to KenPom, but just his playmaking ability? He's taking that jump from last year.
Well, what we envisioned with Tyler was a guy that could turn into a very mature, serious, tough, hard-nosed competitor who has an unbelievable IQ and loves to make plays for other people. I didn't know that he would be averaging 8 assists a game. But we knew that he was a guy that could make plays for his teammates. We knew that he was a guy that could shoot, but also was a playmaker. And he's done a great job with that. I think he's taken a real jump from last year, and I'm excited for him going into the second half of Big East play, because these teams, when they start to design their defensive scheme, he's the first guy they're thinking about. Obviously Cam Jones is our leading scorer, and people are very concerned about him, but Tyler's the one with the ball in his hands the most. And it's been fun to watch him respond and react to the schemes that teams have thrown at him.
Cam was just talking about, I don't know if it's your office or some room where you have a bunch of pictures of accomplishments, achievements from Marquette teams in the past, and there's a space missing. If you could just go into detail what that room looks like and why you decided to set it up that way.
Well, it's in the hallway. When I got here, the hallway in our office, there was a lot of individual accomplishments. You had the all-time leading scorers, all-time leading rebounders, blocks, assists, steals, and it's some really, really impressive records and some really impressive numbers, but we play a team sport, so we felt like instead of having that in that place, not that there isn't a place, I mean, you see people in the background here being honored in the M Club Hall of Fame and other accomplishments, jerseys that have been, honored up in the rafters. But as it relates to what we want to have portrayed for our guys to see every day when they walk in our office, We want them to see winning. We want them to see relationships. We want them to see growth. Our 3 core values: relationships, growth, victory. And so what we have up there is we have some of the great Marquette teams that either won championships or advanced deep in the NCAA tournament, starting with the 1970 NIT group. And the last group that's up there is the Elite 8 team from 2013. And then there's a kind of a blank one there it's white and it just has a Marquette logo on there. And the purpose of that is, hey, that can be our team if we're willing to do all the things that go into being a special team.
It was easy at the beginning of the season after you guys were picked ninth to kind of play the underdog role, play with that underdog chip on your shoulder. Now that you're a known quantity, and you're ranked and number 1 in KenPom and more media attention and all that, how do you keep that mental edge the rest of the 10 games left in the Big East season?
Yeah, I think, motivation can come and go, but, the question is, what type of drive do you have inside of you? I mean, if you're basing your motivation on where other people pick you, what other people say about you, then it's going to continue to be up and down. Now, we are still playing against those very same coaches that picked us ninth. So for guys that want to use that, fine. It's the very same coaches that didn't pick one guy on our team to the preseason All Big East team. If you want to use that as motivation, fine. But to me, what's more important is to have the drive inside of you that's, regardless of circumstances, based on the relationships you have with your teammates, the way that you feel about your program, the way that you feel about the ownership that you take over your team and your program, and then just going out there and doing what it takes to win. All that stuff sounds good, but you get on the court and, these Big East games are hard. There's a lot of challenges, particularly when you go on the road. And so do you have that drive, intrinsic drive inside of you to do what it takes?
He's trying to focus on the now, every game in front of them. Like, how hard is it for those guys to focus on that?
I think it's harder for players than it is for coaches for sure. There's so much nowadays on social media, on their phones, that can push them towards thinking about the future, whether it's bracketology or whether it's different projections, whether it's projections about even the next level beyond college. But the reality is you can't be your best if you're not in the moment. And relationships happen in the moment. Growth happens in the moment. Victory happens in the present. And so those are the 3 things that matter to us most. And we have to work every day to help our guys understand that if we're caught up in all that stuff focused on the future, we're just not going to be our best. We do have some really, really valuable experience from last year, at least the returning guys, the guys that were part of the team last year. And that's both very specific things, like going to DePaul last year and giving up 91 points. And then it's also, broader things like what you're saying, playing better maybe in the month of January than we did in late February.
There's such a thing, Shaka, as pushing through the doldrums of January 26th. You look outside the window, it's gloomy and whatever, and you're still trying to get to a regular season conference championship, or you're trying to get to your goals that you want to achieve.
Yeah, I don't think it's gloomy at all. I actually appreciate the snow, and I appreciate the fact that every day, outside, the weather reminds us that we're on a planet right now, and so it's like, wow, we get to practice college basketball and then play a game in a couple of days on a planet. And to me, that reminds you, let's enjoy and appreciate January 26th, because it's here, it's where we are. And we tell our guys all the time, you can either have a misery complex, which is be miserable wherever you are, or you can enjoy the heck out of it. And so we try to promote the latter. We're just coming off of a time where we didn't play for a stretch of days, and so now there should be an unbelievable excitement to get back on the court and play a game. And then pretty soon again we'll be back where it's like rapid fire games, and we need to enjoy the heck out of that too.
Are you a big analytics guy? Do you put a lot of stock into the KenPom #1 ranking, or do you find yourself more grounded in traditional stats numbers?
I put a lot of stock into what goes into winning. you know, Mark Twain said, there's lies, damn lies in statistics. So there's millions of stats out there. I put a lot of stock into the ones that impact winning, and that's one thing that, you know, if you're fortunate enough to be around basketball for years and years and years, you start to see some trends. And maybe you see some things that go into winning and some things that don't go into winning, and those things really matter. So we've actually, you know, evolved a lot over the years in terms of the way we use analytics. Don't put a whole lot of stock into like a ranking of where we are relative to some team in the SEC that's also got a highly ranked offense, because it's like apples and oranges. We've played different teams. You know, those stats are based on November through now, and everyone's team is so different now. But it's more about comparing us in the stats and the areas that we really care about and we think go into winning to, you know, what we can be. And so the breakdown of our shots, for example, is a stat that we really care about. You know, what percentage of our shots are we getting at or near the rim in the deep paint? What percentage of our shots are wide open threes? And what percentage of our shots are everything else? And then how are we shooting on those shots? And then the same thing on the defensive end. So there's certainly a lot of stats that we pay a ton of attention to, but it's not like we're waking up every morning and checking all the different websites to see where we're ranked.
This all starts Saturday. You talked about the environment down there and probably going to be a sellout, a lot of maybe Marquette fans coming down. And just what are your expectations for this particular game coming up this weekend?
My expectations for this game is that, you know, we come out and play with great energy. Understanding this is a game that is very important for a lot of different reasons. It's very, very important to us in our season. It's very important to DePaul. It's very important to our fans. It's very important to their fans. And it'll be a good environment down there. And it's our next Big East game. So there's not really much more that we should need from the standpoint of motivation to play hard.